Okay. Like Sharon, we are also using Ken Smith Architects, and Thursday afternoon we had our final construction meeting of our Phase 3 project. Just to remind you that our Phase 3 project was the fabrication and replacement of stairs. You guys visited, I believe, last year, so you know how the damage that was done in the stair room. We started initially looking at the project with the idea of replacing 23 stairs. When we broke ground on the project, it was up to 60 stairs, and the final count will be 110 stairs of the 177 stairs that have to be refabricated and replaced in the tower. In addition to the replacement of the stairs, we're also working on the masonry on the interior portion. 2014/15. The exterior, okay, and repaired 350 feet of linear crack on the outside, and we're doing the exact same because those cracks are mirrored on the interior. Once the cracks have been repaired, and also they're busting out the brick around the stairs, obviously to replace them, both above and below. We've replaced about 6,000 brick in the tower. We were fortunate that on base there were a lot of structures historic that had been torn down, and we were able to use historic brick from the period to replace those. But once it's done, the cracks will be repaired, and we'll also be repainting the interior back to its original colors. Also, the keeper's room roof, if you can recall, we actually could see this, the sun through that. We look up through the roof and actually see daylight, and we were having a lot of problems with water intrusion. But the roof has been replaced. That was one of the initial parts of the project. We'll be replacing many of the windows and doors. We have a metal door that's just about rusted through, and they're going to fabricate a door that looks similar to the keeper's quarters door to help better fit in the upkeep of the place. We've contracted, and if you might want to write this down if you've got future restorations, we've gone through many of the well-known lighthouse architects, and Ken Smith is great to work with, and some of the contractors, but we decided to work with Robinson Iron and Masonry Arts, both out of Alabama. And they've done a fantastic job. We also are reopening one of the historic windows. It was sealed up, and somebody had already mentioned that you have to have an airflow in the tower. While we were replacing the new stairs, I could run my finger across the bottom of the stairs and sheets of water would come out. So we are actually opening up, we have an interior cavity, and our tower is an early tower. It's an early classic brick tower, and the interior wall space was never vented. So we're going to be opening up 4 vents at the bottom, 4x8s, and at the top will be 4x4s. Basically 2 bricks at the bottom width, and then up top 4, and that's hopefully to help vent out that interior space so it'll dry better. Also, we are very fortunate in May to be recognized with 3 preservation awards for our efforts, and these are all projects that FLA helped participate in. Obviously, for the tower restoration, we were given a Merit Achievement. We were given another award for the adaptive use of our carriage house, and for infill design on our outhouse. Today we are in the preliminary stages of recreating our historic wash house, and we'll be using that as a theater and classroom. Our Science of the Light exhibit is nearly complete. Thanks to you all again. Our curator has been working on several new exhibits, and we hope that you come and check those out. We will be hosting the Florida Association of Museums in September. In January we'll be starting our 4th and final phase of restoration, which will include the lantern room and the first order for Netlands. It's been a 5-year process, and we're happy to be seeing the end of the tunnel. But thank you all for your support, and it could have been done without y'all.
Question. John, I understand that Pensacola won an award from the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. They won a couple awards, and one of them, I understand, was for your outhouse?
Yes. We lost 1991 when they initially started to tear down the keeper's quarters, and we lost some of the exterior buildings. One was the wash house, and of course the outhouse. We've always had questions about where did they use the restroom prior to indoor plumbing. We still actually have our original indoor plumbing area, but so we've had chamber pots in the house, of course, under the beds. It's typical things you want to do. But we decided to take, with the carriage house wood that we had left over, which we had tons of, and that's the gift he keeps giving. We fabricated, we looked up some of the WPA projects. We had some old photos of our old outhouses, and we recreated the outhouse. It's funny that somebody also mentioned getting a lead test from the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard came out and shot most of the house, and it was lead mitigated as part of the 1990s project. But he came up to me and said, actually, you know that outhouse has the most lead out here. So using that old wood, we repurposed it, and it's actually got historic lead.
John.
Yes. And just to get back to circle around to the award, we did get an award for the tower, for the meritorious achievement of the restoration of the exterior of the tower. We won an award for the repurposing and adaptive reuse of our carriage house. So many of you may have come there in 9 or 10, and it was about to fall over. It was twisted from wind, and it was a dilapidated shed, had been cut up and reused. We got a picture from the Coast Guard dated 1892, got the original layout. It worked for our needs, and we recreated it. And then the third award was for the outhouse.
Are these from the state of Florida, those awards? Were they from the state of Florida?
It is for the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. Any other questions? Thank you again. Look out, you can adopt a stair, or you can buy one of the stairs that we've removed too. Thank you.
Craig, it's your turn. I have a video here that was produced by one of our major donors. He did it on his own. So when they go out and talk to other people they want to get money for, they can put this on, and once they're hypnotized, they get the checkbook out and write us a big check. I thought you might want to see the aerial view of our lighthouse. I'm not going to show the entire fundraising video. I will mention that it is against policy illegal to take drone videos on the refuges. So this was done without our permission, but we got hold of it and used it.
Wow.
So you have not seen me showing you this video?
What video?
Totally illicit.
But we have seen, I don't know, half a dozen or more videos on YouTube and stuff. Other people have gone down there. And I will mention the Coast Guard beacon on the outside of the tower there. Anyway, as you know, we've had stair problems. We identified some more stairs with the orange tape there that needs to be replaced. We have a warning for the contractors as they go up to watch out for those stairs. And this is the Coast Guard. They snuck in one day and removed their beacon. So we are dark for the first time since the Civil War. It needs to be removed so we can do work on the lantern room. They just didn't tell us when they were coming or give us any kind of notice. They just came and took it. We're supposed to contact them afterwards to see if they want to put it back. We don't want it put back, and they probably don't either. Just showing some of the work being done, some of the damage to the windows, bolts that need to be replaced. This is one of the problems we have, like I mentioned before, with the condensation, and there's the Coast Guard beacon. So we decided we need to start with the lantern room first because we can't stop that water from getting in. There's no use doing anything else in the building. So that's what we're first doing. Alex Clem is doing a iron work. Razorback is going to do the painting, some more broken windows. Notice the plywood down below the windows. All the windows are taken out. We had this temporary plexiglass put in there just to keep the rain out. That's the bottom of the pedestal in the watch room. You see all the damage around that pedestal. It's actually falling over. We actually jacked up the floor of the lantern room and fixed that pedestal. So we got new wood at the top and bottom. So now it won't fall over anymore. It won't flex with the temperature changing and people walking on it. Where I mentioned the plywood, you see the plywood here has been removed, and that's what's behind it. The opening there is for the vents that are on the floor. There they are when they were taken out, so you had the vents and the screens that were behind them. This is after they were cleaned up and polished and ready to go back in again. That's the top of where the vent ball is. Someone, Coast Guard or someone had just made a plywood cutout that was up there. We now have a new brass that Alex did for us. We're working on the chimney that goes inside that. Ken Smith is supposed to come up with a design for it rather than the plywood pieces that were up there. We had a historical marker put in 1973, and you all have seen that. It was stolen, it was on a pipe pole, it was stolen around 76. By 1978, they finally got around to talking about replacing it. So we had them put this secure concrete platform there so it couldn't be stolen again. The state did come down and repaint it for us, so now it looks brand new. That's pretty much it. If you see Ken Smith, keep telling him you want to climb the St. Mark's Lighthouse, because our next phase, well, I didn't mention we got $50,000 grant, small matching grant to do the lantern room. We also tried for the first time an Indiegogo crowdfunding project. In the first month, we got about 78% of our money. We only asked for $12,000, we're up to $9,000. 13 more days to go. 2 of the donors were from international donors. We got some checks because people don't like PayPal. But so it's been successful. So if you're thinking about fundraising, that is a way to do it. Most of respondents, most of donors came from Facebook or from people sending out personal emails. Going to a website didn't really excite people, but through Facebook and people sharing it to other people, the word gets out, so that's a good source of money. Anyway, back to Ken Smith. We hope in the next phase, which will be going down the tower, stripping and painting, replacing stairs, and then going through the house, to make sure they try to include in their plans is we want people to climb. So I'm still working on trying to convince my management that people need to go to the top. We do hope to put a lens back inside, whether the historic original lens or a replica. We do plan to relight with a Fresnel lens. Also the pier that's out, some of you have seen the pier, I'm working on getting people to replace that also.
Wasn't there lead contamination at St. Mark's? Has that been taken
There
care of?
was, and they spent many years, $1 million
Repeat the
cleaning up. They
question.
dug up 12 to
Repeat the
20.
question.
Lead contamination. There's extensive lead contamination in the soil. We know there is in the paint, plus there's asbestos tile in the back room where they had the kitchen. So they did Coast Guard before they could transfer it to us, which delayed it for probably at least 10 years. They did come in, dig up 12 to 24 inches of soil, replaced it with sterile soil. Came back, tested it again, found some more hot spots, came back, dug those up, did it again. Finally, when the money ran out, they said it was done. And the Coast Guard wanted to get rid of it. So that's when we got transferred. Was when that lead contamination, they finally certified that it was good to go. We will, like I said, when we do the paint removal and all, we'll have lead abatement and asbestos abatement too for the floors. But I'm trying to push that. We do want people to climb it. They're going to put a rope to replace the iron or aluminum railing, to kind of move them towards putting a metal railing appropriate to the period. Otherwise, the rope, couldn't have people climb. They may have a rope for kids or for demonstrations, but maybe we'll have a metal railing in there. The gift shop is up in the visitor center at the nature store. It's open on weekdays 8 to 4 and on weekends from 10 to 5. And we do have some Lighthouse items and shirts and stuff in there.
As part of the work to restore, are they going to strip the paint off of the outside of the tower? And I'm curious whether you can see damage in the Civil War where they would have had to re-brick portions of it.
We have that story that it was damaged by the Confederates trying to blow up the tower. We haven't really got documentation of that other than reports by a Union general after the war, which could have been CYA, say we didn't damage it, they did. It was bombarded during the Civil War, but some people think they can see damage on the inside. Now where that is will be blocked by the house. So if it was, when we take down some of the beadboard inside that first room, we might be able to see some. But no, from the outside you would not be able to see it, but it will be stripped off. On the back of the house, there's some kind of spray-on stuff that has to come off because it's holding in moisture. It's not historic. But yes, it will be stripped and repainted with permeable paint. Razorback is doing the lantern room when all this work is done.
All right, thank you, Craig. Next, we're going to have Ken Smith come up and do a presentation on grants.
My name is Ken Smith. I'm not the architect. He and I are good friends, but I'm not the architect. Would Barbara, you come up here? John Hill, come up here? Jessica, where's Jessica? Yep, you come up here. Sharon, come up here, and Chris will hang here a minute. You know, we don't really have time. Don't worry about that. While they're coming up here, let me just make a really quick announcement. If you are part of the group and you know who you are for the 3 o'clock event for donors, come to me and get directions. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you're not part of that group. Okay? Lighthouse Association, huh? Yeah, and the commissioners need to come up here. Florida Lighthouse Association, turn it over, there you go. Florida Lighthouse Association has 2 grants programs. The Gene Oaks Lighthouse Grant is funded by the license plate sales. This year our budget is $115,000 that we'll be giving away for that. The other grant program is the Tom Taylor Keepers Grant. The Gene Oaks is specifically state mandated. It can only be used on 29 of the lighthouses, and it can only be used for either bricks and mortar. It can be used for recreating original plans, and we've used that, but it can only be used for historical preservation and restoration. The other, the Tom Taylor grants program, can be used for other things. So that pretty much covers everything. The first grant program that okay, did you read it? Okay, well the first one we're going to talk about is Pensacola. As you heard, they're in the process of a major 5-year restoration program, and we would like, John, if you would come over here. This is a check for $30,000 for that program. Specifically, this will be used for lens reclamation, correct? Stabilization, lens stabilization for the historic lens, and no, you don't get to stand in this one. You're going to get the next check.
I just told her.
Oh no, she's going to get the next check. She gets her own check. Chris, you stand here in the picture. Just for a quick stand over here. Okay. Next one is Okay, Jessica, you come over. Okay, now John, okay, don't go back, just take your check, no, you can just take your check over there, because we'll do a big picture at the end. This is a Tom Taylor grant for $8,500 for the lens replica for their education project, which is Science of Light. This is Jessica. If you haven't met her, she's the curator for Pensacola, and so she's going to be receiving this check. And you can go stand over there with your check. The next one is Chris. As the president, I signed this check. He can't sign his own check. So this is $6,740 made out to Amelia Island Lighthouse. This is a combination project with the city to do louvers over the windows to help mitigate water damage that's coming in. And again, this is a Gene Oaks grant. It's a preservation grant. The louvers wouldn't have been original, but they had Ken Smith, the architect, design louvers that would have been contemporary to when the lighthouse was built. So it'll look like that it belongs there, and it'll help with the preservation efforts. Okay, thank you. And next, Sharon, if you would come over here. And Richard, yeah. This is $30,000. You heard this grant, you heard that they've already, on their $1.78 million goal, they've already gone over $1 million on it. Here's another $30,000 to help with that. This is a Gene Oaks grant. And I have a picture somewhere that you cannot see that 6 years ago, because it's on that presentation, we can't get up. 6 years ago, about 100 of us stood out in the sand in June of 2010 and had our picture taken in front of the lighthouse. How many of you were there? And we sat there and dreamed for this day, didn't we? So thank you, Sharon, for your hard work and your people. Thank you, and you go stand over there with that. And then last, Barbara, if you would come over here. This one, let me tell you something about our grant program, and most people that have ever done grant program know you wait maybe a couple of years to get response, and that you may or may not ever get it back. This grant request came in Monday. Okay, well after the deadline, but we held but our grants committee kind of held a sideways sort of fun meeting, talking about it, giving it its grade, approving it, taking it to the board last night, and it's with pleasure that we give a $5,250 grant. They had some emergency roof repair work that needed to be done. It was because when the roof was, the last time it was installed, the carpenters used the wrong kind of nails, and as a result, the roof didn't survive it. So they had to have some emergency work done, and this is exactly what we love doing, is being able to say, hey, you don't have it in your budget, the work needs to be done for the preservation of it. We love standing up. So this is another Gene Oaks grant. Now, everybody hold your checks up and let's get over here. You can do the math on it. We're talking about a little over $80,000 in grants that we're doing today. Give yourselves a hand for that. Because the only way we can do it is because you have license plates. Yeah, come this way, come this way, come this way. Because you have license plates, but in addition to that, you give generously to these programs, and you give generously to FLA so that we can accomplish this. Okay, is this going to work for you, Dee Dee? Okay, tighten up, folks. Yeah, tighten up.